There is a name I love to hear. I love to sing the word. It sounds like music in my ear. The sweetest name I know. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Because He first loved me. Now, this is hypnosis. This is children's video, and you kids over in Mexico to find a safe place to put down some of the things that the American drug addict conglomerate has bought for you, and listen up, because this does have some stuff about drugs for the kids and everybody else. All you kids around the world, in Asia, while you're working, you can still watch a video. But this is hypnosis. It is not a question. And I want you kids to ask the question anyway to your parents. What's going on here? 2021 years of this, and they're still getting away with this? My neighbor came over in the early 90s, and he just stood at my open door holding a plastic Jesus, a black plastic Jesus. Of course, he's black, so it's not prejudice. And I said, they really make a black version of that thing? And he's a very good comedian. So I drew one of each. Any other colors? This is bafflement. It is identical to this. And it always will be. And if you really trust your religion, talk about it. Get a dialogue. When you can only have this religion in quiet land, in subconscious land, and you can't talk about it, or else it's not real anymore, you need to wonder, is there something better than that? And there is. They were using the same thing back in the World War II. The same situation. The German women were bland, unfulfilling. So they tweaked up on speed and went traipsing off into Russia. They didn't need to invade Russia. They're out there in the middle of winter because the women had failed. And what you've got here is an instead of. Instead of is interpreted as or the word they're using in the Bible is anti. And Jesus was actually the instead of, according to real psychology. It is very simple. And if you trust your religion this much, put it against the psychologists of the world. Are there any? Or am I the only one teaching real psychology? Sure, you have child psychology. You have, what is it, criminal psychology. Okay, whew. Yeah, I give you a minute to think of all the other ones. It's not real psychology, it's game psychology every time. It wasn't a big deal to go to the moon. Yeah, a giant step for mankind. They didn't do it because it was easy, it was because it was hard. It was very easy. Can you grow a third eye? That's a little more difficult than going to the moon. To the moon, oh gee, why did our 3 astronauts burn up? Well, the Russians said we just used air instead of blowtorch materials because they had a lower budget. So Americans took their advice, and then they in trade said, well, here we'll tell you the secret about money. You just print up endless money and make a false paper trail that came from your friends. And one hand washes the other. Each government around the world's the same. No matter what religion it is, it's still foolishness to baffle you. And that is hypnosis. Every time it's the same simple thing. And what I want you kids to do is start asking questions. Hey, Mommy, we've already been stupid. We've been sitting around screeching about a poopy butt and banging a slobbery rattle and screeching some more. Tell them you don't want to be stupid. Your parents didn't get it. I tried to tell you. Write a book. Tell us how you want to feel. Tell us what you want to do. And then compare it to what you've got. Because this is your actual heaven right here on earth. Except you've got to get to real psychology to do it. Right now you're in game psychology, which is laws. None of you ever thought you could do without laws. You never do without religion or atheisms. All 3 of those. Get rid of them, clean them up. No, don't get rid of them. Try not to doesn't work. Do this instead of it. Start learning this on top. I tried to teach the parents. Here's a simple solution to get a recall election. And nobody could hear me. Video number 7 and number 8 both had that in it with CNN, MSNBC. People were saying, I heard 3 of them around me, saying, wow, Fox News turned on Trump at the last minute. And then we found the reason why. There had been a $2.7 billion lawsuit against him. So you need to start looking at truth and adding things up. But like I say, I'm not prejudiced. I've seen these 2 plastic Jesuses or whatever, so I put them out. If you've got other colors, it's just as big a problem, and you need to deal with it. You got a wonderful world ahead, and the true Trinity is hell that you're living in now with your game psychology. Gee, you can't see it, so what? You've got the earth and you've got heaven. That's your true Trinity. And it's up to all of you, but you can't go there by yourself. Game psychology says trample your loved ones and friends and you're going to be better than they are in comparison. And that is not heaven. It is just more of hell. Now, you've got to look at each one of your neighbors as culprit and help them, which is completely different. We've heard, oh, we have rights and freedom over here. Well, religion is not freedom. That's not what it is. It's an instead of. It is a lie. It is a trick. It is hypnosis, which is very, very simple. And there are about 13 that I've come up with so far. There's a bunch of names for it. The biggest one is stupid that most people remember. And somebody said, oh, you got to say something positive. And I am. It's the first step of 4 to fixing problems. You identify that the situation exists. Then second one, you've got a 2-part. You've got to identify the fact also that it is a problem and not a solution. So that's two-part. Decide number 3 that you haven't tried to fix it. And decide number 4 that you can fix it and do fix it. So number 4 is two-part. But you kids, your parents can't get it, because what has actually occurred is that they're 100% full of, I'm going to use the word blank because your parents pretend that words are bad. They do not actually have the dimension of bad. Words don't. You need those words to describe the mess they put you in. And if you can, you know, I'm sure they're not prejudiced, so they got a black Jesus in one hand, the white one in the other, throw them both out the back window. The dog will make a lot better use out of them than people will. And start taking on a state of awake. Ask them in school, why are you not allowed to learn psychology? Why are you not more familiar with the term hypnosis? What is going on here? And you're going to love your world ahead. Lucifer, according to real interpretation of the Bible, real psychology. My other Bible is at my cabin in Arizona, so I hold that one up. But New Testament, Old Testament, they're history. And history is written by the victor. And to the victor go the spoils, and which includes lying rights that nobody ever told you, because the victor's not going to tell you they're lying. It is much more clear that Lucifer was a person. You eliminate the blatant fact that angels don't exist, then you're down to a person. Lucifer was a person. And he was born different. There are people that are born 22 inches tall, or excuse me, when they get old. And so there are people that are different. A lot of you are only around people that are the same. And but you've got to apply these different concepts, and none of your parents understand sequence. And you need to ask them, how do they know that Jesus is the Son of God? And Lucifer was never allowed to reproduce, according to all history in the Bible. They did mention him because culprits like to brag, so they put in Lucifer as a brag. And oh, he's the bad guy. I don't think so. Not by real psychology. It comes to different conclusion. So now that you have two, you have an instead of. The try not to be religious doesn't work. You've got two now while I'm here on this earth, and I don't see anybody else on the earth teaching real psychology. These are simple fact. But as soon as I got, I can say it this way, and it might not be quite right because they were picking on me before this. I took the test going into first grade, and probably by the results the government knew that I was a rational thinking mind frame, which comes to different conclusion consistently. You've got your insurances, your gambling, you've got your military, your police. You've got an entire opposite world built, which is your game psychology, which is hell. And you can get out of this thing because words have no boundaries of truth or reality. I'm going to tell you, you can fix stupid. Because there's no boundaries of truth or reality to what words say. And let's move forward and look back and see, did you fix stupid? Did you fix stupid? And you kids might not be completely 100% full, not all of you. The genes are passed down from generation to generation, and people gravitate towards foolishness. And I am ever amazed by that. When I was a child, I was looking up and trying to be humilitous so I wouldn't get a slap in the face. I'm trying not to be specific, but I asked a lot of simple questions that I could see the answer to right in front of me. And other people, oh no, you have to have faith. Faith is hypnosis. You have to have faith to try this. Compare the two and take on the state of awake. Your government is soon as they could with the TV, they were hypnotizing people. It's the perfect one to do that with. They use redundancy, they use foolishness like this stuff. Yeah, when you got a bad thing that's going to do good things, no. You want something good, do something good. That's a fact. You don't do a bad thing to get a good thing. Oh, you kill an animal to have dinner. Well, is that a bad thing or isn't it? Think about that. And thinking is real psychology, where you compare both sides. To every story, there's an opposite story. And game psychology won't do that. You have a predetermined set of game rules by a credible source. And I'm using that in sarcasm, but that's what you use, a credible source. Well, no, they're not. In my generation, it was a dope pusher, the first rung on the ladder of drug abuse, a dope addict. Now it's cannabis, a dispensary, medication, a patient, a client. And nobody noticed the difference because you're a computer, you're not awake. Or your parents are. I'm hoping you kids can do a little bit with this. But they dumped everybody with rotten women so that I couldn't find anyone to reproduce with. And you say, wow, that's crazy that one man is thinking that the whole world is changed just for him. And that makes more sense than a virgin borning a son of God on a bale of hay. So you weigh between the two, you figure that out. It is more likely that I'm the Savior if I can save you. Lucifer couldn't. And the government was dominant, they won. And you got a long way to go. You're going to get a lot of arguments, so I'll conclude this with some interesting facts about argue. And you kids, start wondering why you're not allowed to hear other things. You've got laws, you've got atheisms, you've got religion. Well, there's another one out there called real psychology. And the mouth falls open and automatic argue, just like a computer bounces back to anything that doesn't match the game rules you've already have. You've got familiarity, anything else you argue. So I'll go with argue and then shut this off and watch it over and over again. This is for all the kids on the earth, adults. If you want to hear it, fine. But let's see what you got. Okay. On a continuous level of mind frame, make an infinitely better tomorrow. Okay, the myth that it takes two to argue is actually false. The arguer is defined as the one that is wrong. If your dictionary is different than that, then complain to the adults about it. And the truth teller is defined as the victim. The truth, okay, the myth that someone could argue with a tree is actually true. Because even though the tree is not considered to be one, the arguer is. It is impossible to argue and learn at the same time. Argue is an automatic and subconscious response as culprits are exposed to facts outside their game box. And I had the game box on some of the other videos. Watch all the videos repetitively because you get from a negative number to about 10% of what you see on the video. Play it at least 10 times. Then go from there. Arguers intend to be wrong because otherwise no one would call back to them. So now you know when somebody's arguing you and you know they're wrong, well, they do intend to be wrong. And telling them this to their face might help. Yes, it's the only thing you got right now. It is the arguer's game win to get in the last word. And somebody stood up in a room and said, "Hey everybody, I'm going to show you that I can win Gary in an argument." And what else am I going to do? He started arguing, and of course he knew he was wrong. I called back to him with truth. I was glad to say it. Well, by the time it swaps back and forth 2 or 3 times, the truth teller is sure that the arguer has hurt him, because otherwise the arguer has nothing to argue by. So he's revealing the fact that he's heard you, and that motive is gone because I wasn't there to get in the last word. I was there to communicate. Well, that part was done. So I argued a little further past that. We went 8 rounds, maybe whatever. 3 other people were in the room, and all 3 took his side actively. They all stood up and went to him to take his side. They were on the side of bad, and bad always wins in the end. It's opposite world of what has been taught all these years. For 58 years I've lived here, you're essentially living in opposite world, which is hell. Heaven's right here. That's your Trinity, that's your true Trinity, heaven, hell, and earth. And your true everlasting life is having children. And that's why your government destroyed people. And that's why America is a giant drug addict conglomerate, because everybody is lonely and miserable. They made the women rotten against the men, and then the women expected the men to even be worse than a woman, so the woman could be the better man, which is hypnosis. It's insanity. We already are men. Nobody ever thought of women trying to embetter themselves as women. You're trying to embetter yourselves as men. That's hypnosis, is what really happened, and everyone ended up miserable. So they're sitting back there just like the Germans doing drugs. Everybody's alone. I've talked to people. Do you want to be alone? No. They'd rather be with someone they could get along with, but they know in all the world, none. 0. Well, this will fix it. You can't go to heaven as one. You have to go to heaven as an entire earth of people, because one barbarian hiding in your bushes is going to make a mess. It's impossible to... considered to be, okay. It is impossible to argue and learn at the same time. When somebody's mouth falls open blathering, you know that they're not learning. And as I said, as I argued back and forth, or they argued and I told the truth back and forth 7 or 8 times, my message was through as well as it would be. When somebody's point is only to win and argue, in other words, get on the last word, you're not going to get very far anyway. We need to do this thing as 8 billion people And don't look at yourself. You can't fix yourself. The victim can't fix themselves. Ask any psychologist, psychiatrist, they'll tell you the same thing. That they're playing a game and it works. It gives them money. That's what works, getting money. And culprit can't fix themselves. Doing nothing doesn't work. Victims have to fix the culprits. And you've been told that people have their own right. And you don't. Religion is not a right. If it's written down, that means you don't have that right. I already went over freedom of speech. It's because you don't have that right. You have the right to breathe air, at least for now, so it's not written down. As soon as they write it down, it's because you know that right is being threatened. So, argue is an automatic subconscious exposed to facts outside their game box. Arguers intent. Okay, is arguing. Is a victim's win to communicate truth. Motive is 10/10 of reality. As soon as the truth tellers argues the truth teller's words, they have inherently revealed that they've heard the truth teller's words because they had to use that truth as a vehicle to argue by. Yeah, I just said that. Memory matching is good because your commercials are very redundant. That ends the truth teller's motive as their job is done, so the arguer got in the last word at that point, and so they won the game because the truth teller is not playing it. Hence, bad always wins in the end. Well, I give you kids something to do. You parents, if you want to watch these videos, so far you haven't. You gravitate towards foolishness. Somebody is doing a rap video on abortion. Oh, you've got to get into that. Abortion, not abortion. Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. What about real psychology? Get the brains working right. Then go from there. Because this hypnosis is crazy stuff. When you're believing this, you're hypnotized. And I have all the answers 100% on both your old style game psychology and what I'm trying to advance everyone to here. That Lucifer tried 2021 something years ago. And I'm going to end up in the same mess he is. That I'll go down the record as being another bad guy and somebody else is the good guy because they're bigger. And bad always wins in the end. Okay, hence, miming is often used as a form of argue called lie miming. Here, I'll give you one example. That's shaking on its own. I was working at the computer running the mouse and somebody was telling me how to run it. And because I didn't know how to run a program very well, I put my computer away in the 90s because it wasn't good. And had to take it out for this stuff, and it still isn't good. The days of gaining your money by failing over and over again is not what real psychology will do for you. But anyway, I showed him that my hand shakes, so it's kind of difficult to tap that mouse when your hand's just going all over the place. And so he held out his hand in front of me and went like that. And actually, that's doing it on its own, but he did that intentionally. Let me do it intentionally with this one because it shakes less than the other one. But that is lie miming. He knew better than that. And it is also called argue miming. So there are many forms of argue, and if you know them, you can start calling it back to the arguer. And you tell all the magician's tricks, the magician goes home. One familiar example while falling forward is down. Oh yeah, okay. Some of your lie miming, falling forward, gassing out while falling forward, may be preceded by eye gesturing, head shaking, hand, all arms spread out, outward, etc. All kinds of flailing around. It's argue miming. And when you get things simple, you got it right. Argue is argue has a subconscious level of mind frames. They don't get caught. When subconscious, game psychology, conscious mind frame level, real psychology. Play a game, it's an awfully long Monopoly game here. Try being awake and not playing a game with your life. You're going to like it better. It's called heaven. The bounce back 180 is a common form of argue because it is easy. Bounce back is defined as quick and thoughtless as a ball bouncing off a wall. 180 is more familiar when expressed in a game title you were taught as you were children. Everything you say bounces off of me and sticks back on you. A lot of us remember that, and it's taught in one form or another, apparently around the world. This game is actually taught to all children on the earth, so Americans are certainly not the only culprit. I boast being the inventor of the shut up and which is similar to football. To be warned, I'll show you how to activate some time. No big deal. It's the thought that counts. Culprit warned by the potential culprit has one young. The victim sits there with a potential victim sits there with a string, and they yank the string when the culprit won't shut up. Ratchet plate, okay. Activated, yanking the string, okay. It actually has two modes of the victims, either trigger, culprit, yeah, okay. Because necessity is the mother of invention, all evidence concludes that I cannot possibly be the original inventor. God bless all of you. Well, you kids write your books. Tell us what you want to feel and what you want to do. And let's see if it's workable in society with 8 billion people, because real psychology tends to come to similar conclusion, compatible conclusion, and productive conclusion. Now, can that be said of game psychology? Yes, because there are no boundaries of truth or reality to verbal. Try it. Anyone tells you no, you got to have Jesus? You tell them that religion is hypnosis. It is not a freedom. It is not a right. It is a trick. And you kids write your books, and now you kids in Mexico know why America is a gigantic drug addict conglomerate. Prescription? Oh, okay. That's an example of sarcasm. Medication, a diagnosis. Oh, okay. Yeah. Try it out, kids. Write your books. Tell your parents you don't want to be stupid anymore. You want to know what's going on. Thank you.